So let's talk about perimenopause.
Yeah.
What do I need to be thinking about? And what age group typically is perimenopause? I guess it can be a wide spectrum, but when does that typically start, and how do I need to be thinking about my nutrition and exercise in that phase?
So around age 35
Yeah.
up to, I think they say now the average age of menopause is 52 years old.
In this first video, guys, we're going to jump in and we're going to break down the perimenopause and why women tend to gain weight in their stomach area. And then we'll jump into some more things. Allow them to continue.
Okay.
So what's happening in that 15 to 17 year span is you're having such a change in the ratio of estrogen and progesterone. Early days, a lot of it appears as I'm not adapting to my training. It's not working well. I'm putting on more body fat. I'm becoming squishy. I'm not sleeping well. I'm having lots of mood changes. It must be, this is why a lot of doctors say, oh, it's because you're busy and stressed out. Here's a serotonin reuptake inhibitor. But no, it's changes in the ratios. How can we dial it in? We look at menstrual cycles and is it becoming shorter or longer? What's our bleed phase? We get into our mid to late 40s, it's very apparent because there are a lot of different changes that are occurring. We're seeing a change in our blood lipids. There's an increase in our low density lipoprotein, which is the quote, bad cholesterol. Even if a woman's never had an issue with it, now all of a sudden she's.
So the change is very dramatic when it comes to the female human organism. And this is why females specifically need to really dial in on their nutrition early on, way before they reach this menopausal stage, as well as tie into the nutrients, the minerals, and the vitamins that they need, get them a good, solid, methylated multivitamin, as well as start to really ramp up the use of protein in the form, in my opinion, of the perfect amino acid, which has a 99.9% absorption rate, as well as making sure that they get their vitamins, whatever they're taking. Even with many individuals taking B12 shots, they should make sure they get the non-synthetic form. They should get the natural occurring form of these shots. But many women don't understand, they don't know this, so they need to really start to dial in, especially on their nutrition, especially on their training, and up that intake of protein, healthy protein, and they will drastically help themselves mitigate the devastating effects that comes with perimenopause, menopause, etc.
She's having issues with her cholesterol. We see A1C coming up, which is a marker for diabetes, pre-diabetes, without any real change in what they're doing, other than the fact that their exercise isn't working, their sleep is a little bit disrupted, and their body composition is completely changing. And when we're looking at what's happening, we see that decrease in gut microbiome diversity because we don't have as many sex hormones. So that impacts serotonin, that impacts vitamin production, that impacts parasympathetic drive. And we're also seeing a misstep in the way liver is reading fat. And
again, the change is absolutely real. And this is why men, I'm speaking to men, you should always understand what your woman or the women in your life are going through. You should try to get and come to a better understanding that a lot of this stuff is driven by the change in the body. Now, some of it is driven by the change in the body and from the individual just being a vile, vulgar type female. So two things can be true, and you must understand and distinguish what is what, or if both exist within that same human being. So I'm not telling you to give individuals a pass for being nasty, for being vile, for being vulgar, if and because they're going through the change. Again, if that was their initial state of being, then the change is only going to exacerbate that. Allow us to get back into this.
And fat circulation. So we're seeing free fatty acids that are coming around. And because we don't have as much estrogen, we don't have as much anti-inflammatory responses. So we can't pull as many free fatty acids into the mitochondria and the skeletal muscle to be used as fuel. So they circulate, and the liver has a signal that goes, we're going to change that free fatty acid into what we call esterified fatty acid, which then gets stored as visceral fat. And visceral fat is that dangerous fat that gets stored around the organs, which is why women start to get like a menopause or develop a lot of abdominal adiposity. So people will start seeing this and going, I don't understand what's going on. Over the past 6 months, I put on 10 pounds or I put on 4 stone, right? What's going on? My training's not working. Become very despondent.
So Gary Bracker, he speaks on that that weight gain within the abdominal region down low for many women, and a lot of times, of course, it's having to do with them going through this period of time when it comes to the perimenopausal state. But also, what he said was, and we'll get back to her, is that many of that is called a estrogen band, where the body is not breaking down estrogen enough, and it's a lot of water weight. So sometimes it's water weight that is being trapped in that area that's causing this bulge, not necessarily being fat in the sense of fat, but more so water. Of course, sometimes it is fat, but you want to take that into consideration as well. We'll have another video with Gary Bracker breaking that down. All right. So keep that in mind. Let's jump right back into it.
And if they don't know they're in perimenopause, then they don't know that that's what's happening.
And how can they find out if they are?
Well, it's really symptomatic because we can't use blood tests. There isn't a definitive blood test to say, hey, you're perimenopausal. You have to have a history of everything, of getting blood tests like every week, and no one does that. So we have to go on symptomology. It's really using the sociocultural aspect of how a woman is experiencing life with her symptoms, and really listen and say, okay, well, here are the things that are going on. And we try to instigate non-hormonal options. There's exercise, there's lifestyle. And then if all else is really going to shit, then we can look at using some menopause hormone therapy. Just like we were talking about Ozempic being a tool. So hormone therapy can also be a tool.
Does it matter my pre-existing health when I approach menopause? If I've got more weight on my body, is that going to impact the amount of symptoms that I experience of menopause?
It can. Yep, it can. We see that there is a greater incidence of vasomotor symptoms or hot flashes for women who have a greater amount of body fat. We also see that if you have more lean mass, then you're going to have less of an incidence of insulin resistance.
This is a powerful, powerful statement that she is making. And that was a beautiful question that Stephen asked. Again, preparing yourself before you even come into that stage where your body is making that drastic change. And I'm talking to the women. You must come into that area, into that state of being in the best optimized shape that you can be. Many of you women frown on muscle gain, but muscle is your best friend, and you should at all costs try to put on muscle. You don't have to look muscular like this young lady is looking if you don't want it, but you want muscle. You might not want that look, but you want the muscle. It has a profound effect on what you're going to deal with in the years to come. Not only just the menopausal situation, but it has a profound effect on the body's functionality as we age, and the slowing down of the wasting away of our human organism. Because this is what happens when we age. We are either wasting away or we're building and slowing that waste process to almost a halt. And this is what you want. If not, you're going to accelerate it, especially when you're entering into the perimenopause, menopausal, definitely the menopausal state and postmenopausal. But again, remember, if you're carrying more weight, you're going to experience likely more hot flashes, more symptoms of the menopause, especially when you go into menopause. And if you're carrying more muscle, if you're lean, if you're eating in a way that is conducive to a healthy human organism, you will experience likely less of these mitigating factors. I mean, these will mitigate the symptoms of menopause. One more thing before we go, you have to come to understand this, that again, what you do before you enter into these perimenopause, menopausal state is highly consequential. You must understand that anything that you're putting in your body that is synthetic is altering your body's functioning, and it's going to have a price to be paid in the future. Tylenols, these over-the-counter drugs, these birth control pills, these have a devastating impact on your body's natural functioning, and you and I will pay the price for engaging in these things and not understanding that these things have consequences that will be paid in the future. So if you like the video, please like, subscribe. Remember, I have a political channel, a social commentary channel called Monte Reid, MONTE_Reid. I'll leave the link in the description. We discuss politics, etc. In these videos on this channel right here, it's the workouts that come up Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You can follow along. Tuesdays and Thursdays, generally speaking, we're covering any topic that deals with mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual health. So again, like, subscribe, comment. Have a beautiful day. I appreciate you. Peace.